What's good with y'all boys? Welcome back to another episode of Ray Carver Big Sports Podcast. Today, Ray and I are here to break down, did the best team in college football actually win it all? Ray, what do you say?
I'm going to go with the short answer and say yes. I believe the Michigan Wolverines was the best team this year. Now, do I believe the best four teams were in the playoffs? No. I still think Georgia was probably the second best team, especially if you look at the Washington and the Texas side. You look over there and you look at Washington and Texas. Okay, that was a close game. And then you look and they get it to the winner of a close game between Michigan and Alabama, and it's a blowout. I believe that this game, yes, it was close up until the end. That's kind of pulled away. But was that game ever in doubt for Michigan? No. In the beginning, they started off really hot, and they slowed down a little bit, let Washington catch up, and they ran away on them again in the end. I still believe that Michigan team and that Alabama team was both better than Washington and Texas. And then I believe if you're going to look at it, what were the best four teams that should have made the playoffs? Obviously, Washington was better than Texas. They beat them. Then you look at Michigan and Alabama very close, and I think Georgia should have been in over Texas. Now looking back, at the time, obviously not. You look at records, you look at who won their conference, but you look at who do I think the best four teams were. I believe it should have been Michigan, Alabama, Georgia, Washington. That was the best four teams at the time. And then I believe in the end, the best team did pull it out and win. I mean, they beat Alabama and then they beat Washington convincingly, who everybody was really high on over the year after they beat Oregon twice.
I mean, I agree with most of what you said. That Washington game was very close up to the end. I mean, with 5 minutes left, it was a one-score game. So I'm not gonna say it was a blowout, and I'm not gonna say that they didn't deserve to be there because that game was very close. I mean, it was 13-20 for the majority of the game.
Yeah, but was it ever in doubt?
No, it was close. It was close.
Yeah,
it was a one-score game.
It was a dominant dominant Michigan win. They never trailed the whole game. When Washington got the ball back, ready to go down and try and tie it up the first time, Michael Penix threw a pick on the first play, and then they go and they get a 3-and-out the next time. So it never really was in doubt.
Yeah, but it was definitely not a blowout.
Okay, maybe a blowout's not the best word.
That was a good game up to the end. I mean, and that game was a play away to getting tied up. It didn't happen.
It wasn't a Georgia TCU, but it definitely never was in doubt.
Okay, it definitely was Georgia TCU. It was a good game. And Washington definitely deserved to be there. Now, what I disagree with you on is that from the jump, I thought Georgia was one of the four best teams, even after they lost. But you couldn't put them in just for the simple fact that they just lost. Because I think Alabama was better than Texas, even though they played earlier and lost. But with new information, you take new things into account. So I think they were better than Texas. I think Alabama was also better than Washington. I just do.
Mm-hmm.
And we all can agree that Washington was better than Texas. And, of course, Michigan was better than Washington. Now, and like you said, I agree with your top four: Michigan, Georgia, Washington, or Alabama, Washington. I think that those were the four best teams. But, it's tough if you're Georgia because you win 29 straight games, back-to-back champs, and you lose one game and now you're out. But it's all about when you lose the games and how you lose it, and you have to take those things into account. So it sucks for Georgia and Georgia fans that they didn't make it because I do think that, I think they could have beat Michigan. I do, and I think Alabama definitely was in position to, but you have to give credit to where credit's due. Michigan did beat Ohio State. They beat Penn State. Yeah, they beat Iowa, who didn't have any offense, but they still dominated them, beating them 24-0 in the conference championship. Then they beat Alabama, who's still Nick Saban led, and they're still Alabama. And then you go beat the 14-0 Washington Huskies. So, like you said, yes, I think they were the best team. And if you say no, I think you're kind of biased because, that team went 15-0, and they didn't really struggle on that much in any game except for the Alabama game, which that was the only game that was in three.
And Ohio State. That was a very close game as well.
Yeah, but I thought they were going to lose just the simple fact that I wouldn't have believer in Kyle McCord, and I never felt threatened because I actually took Michigan in that game. I think I took their spread too, and I never felt. Yeah, I understand they had a late drive, but similar to how you feel about how they did Washington in the championship game, that's how I feel about Ohio State when they played them. I never felt threatened. Now I thought it was a closer game than you do, national championship game. But I think you also think that the Ohio State game is closer than what I do. So I guess maybe we just see those things differently. But, yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you on the fact that I think that, 15-0 national champs, they were the best team. And I do think that the best team won the college football playoffs this year.
Yeah, the only way that I could say that it would be a different scenario is I think if you look at Alabama and Georgia, they play 10 times. I think it goes 5-5. But then you look if Michigan plays Alabama and if Michigan plays Georgia, I think it's probably 7-3 Michigan both ways. I don't believe that it could go 5-5 or flipped where Georgia or Alabama wins more games than Michigan wins in those 10 games. So that's why I believe that Michigan was the best team.
Yeah, I disagree. If Georgia played Michigan, there's no way that Georgia would win more or at least 5-5. I just disagree with you on that one a lot because listen, I don't make excuses. Alabama beat Georgia straight up, and I do think that for sure that day they were the better team. But you got to realize Georgia's top two offensive players were hurt. Brock Bowers, the best tight end prospect since I don't even know when, maybe Tony Gonzalez or maybe because Kelsey wasn't that big of a prospect, a big prospect. Maybe Antonio Gates. I mean, Brock Bowers is gonna. He's the type of guy that only comes around once in a lifetime. Honestly, he's a freak of nature. And then their second best receiver, Lad McConkey, he was severely injured in that game as well. He actually came out for parts of that game. So I think a full healthy Georgia Bulldogs team, we could be seeing a different story. But like I said, they lost. They didn't deserve to get in, and that's why they didn't. But I'm not sure if Ohio State would have been able to run the ball in Georgia like they did against Washington, and I think that Georgia would have got pressure on JJ McCarthy a lot more than Washington did. But ifs and buts are what makes the sport beautiful. But at the end of the day, I think Michigan was the best team, but I don't think that they would beat Georgia more times than Georgia would beat them.
So then you don't think they're the best team. You think Georgia was?
No, I think that Michigan was the best team, but 7-3 is crazy. They would not beat Georgia 7-3. Now maybe 5-5, maybe, but not 7-3. 7-3 is crazy.
So do you think Georgia was the best team or Michigan?
I think Michigan was.
So you think Michigan would have beat Georgia?
No, not 7 out of 3 times, or not 7-3 times. Maybe 6-4, maybe 5-5. Maybe a little more. But 7-3, you think that Michigan would if they played 10 times, they'd beat Georgia 7 out of the 10. That's crazy to say. That's crazy to say.
And I think because you got to think. I think Alabama and Georgia was 5-5. I think if they played 10 times, it goes 5-5. And I believe that Michigan. Don't get me wrong, Alabama was a good team. They were a lot better at the end of the year than we thought they were going to end up, especially in the beginning of the year. But I think Michigan was not significantly, but a good amount better than
overtime. So I don't know how.
That's what I'm saying. And then my point was going to be that Alabama played. I don't know that Alabama could have played better in that game. I mean, Alabama was on them the whole game. I mean, they never fell behind. They were on them. I mean, it was go back and forth. It would be Michigan would go up a score, they tie. It was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then you look, and now then it gets down to the end, and Michigan just finally pulls it away. But I just don't believe that Alabama was 51-49 with Michigan like the game showed that.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, Alabama made a lot of mistakes to be as close as they were. You think about all the terrible snaps they made. They go up by 7, and then Miller has a fumble. But now I do understand why Michigan did have an early mistake with the punt return, but that's only the mistake they made. They had some crazy good plays. Think about the trick play they made with McCarthy. McCarthy one-hands the ball, throws it up to Roman Wilson, and he gets that ball. I mean, I think Alabama – now, I will say this. I do think that Michigan's better overall, but in that game, I mean, Alabama made a lot of mistakes and still.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I don't think Alabama could ever play a perfect game. I think that was Alabama at their best. I mean, they made mistakes. Yeah. They've made mistakes all year, especially when it comes to penalties in late moments. I mean, that's just
and especially their center. I mean, he was bad in the Texas game also. That's not a new thing at all.
That was just Alabama all year. I'm not saying that Alabama played a perfect game. I'm saying that Alabama played their perfect game. I don't believe Alabama could play better than they did as far as them.
Yeah, and for me, I could get you saying, Michigan was better than Georgia, but 7 out of 10 times, no. 6 out of 4, 5 out of 5, maybe they win, like you said, 59-41 or 51-49, something like that. Yeah, maybe, but 7 out of 10?
I think so.
No
I just think Michigan was the undisputed best team in the nation last year. They proved it. I mean, they went and they beat Ohio State after I didn't think they would. They went and they beat Alabama, and they went and they beat Washington. I mean, that's probably the 3 of the best 7 teams this year. And was the game
for me all year? I was super consistent. It was either Michigan or Georgia for me all year, and I don't think I ever had them out of the top 2 all year.
I agree. I did too. For me, I had Ohio State, and then Georgia and Michigan were kind of bouncing back and forth that 2 and 3 spot for me.
Yeah.
And then Michigan went and beat Ohio State. Then Michigan went and beat Alabama. and then Michigan went and beat Washington. And I mean, that was 3 teams all year that no one was bumping out of their top 7, except for in the beginning of the year, you had Alabama out. But by the time the middle of the season came around, everybody had Alabama in there, at least their top 10. And then by the end of the year, obviously in their top 5.
Yeah,
Especially
but I always thought they were good. But I might disagree with you on 7 out of 10 times. But I will agree that they were the best team. Not 7 out of 10 times, though. Against Georgia. Maybe against everybody else, maybe. Probably not in Alabama, but I think we can agree on they were the best team, and I don't think it's very a question.
Well, y'all boys let us know what you think. Was Michigan the best team? Did the best team win it all? And if not, who should have won it all? But thank y'all for tuning in with us. Y'all make sure to subscribe to get all your Rand Kyle Everything Sports podcasts, and we'll lock in with you next time.